Hey everyone, welcome to my capstone project. 64,000 random samples from the company that I call New Age Merchandising, and I'm doing an analysis for them based on their data to see what was effective and what was not. I'm going to start out with just generally the data transformation, the data building, and a little bit of data visualization just begin. So this is more of data description. Here's my image source to the details of basically this is the data set itself, recency months, history segment, and so forth. And these are the data questions that are going to be asked on the question page, but I'm going to first start off with giving you the general questions. How effective is the email campaign? Context of email sent out, significance, and to see if the money is worth for the campaign still. So start out with the data loading of the direct analytics. Make sure it's correct. Did the info, describe the info, did the visit in group by, then I did the data understanding processing, which involved looking at the history segments to see what was there, then doing the data for place for the history segments, replacing the data so it could be modeled upon and used with from 1 through 7 to make unique numbers, change the info. Then I did zip code, channel, and segment, same exact thing, and convert all of them to numerical numbers. So you have all of them is int64 or float64, so they're not objects anymore, the numerals. And then I did my first of two saving the CSVs for my question portion. I saved transform the CSV, then I also dropped the history since that's not going to be used in the analysis. So the second one's transform drop history, that's CSV. This is the one I'm going to be using more than this one. So next with the data visualization, this is just the basic data. So this is a correlation of data to each other. Here's just a basically short group by and another group by visit, group by conversion. Just me, I'm trying to understand the data and figure out what the data is telling me. And it goes on for a little while. Then I get to some visual graphs, and I just did general graphs just to see if there's any special correlation I generally figure out from the graphs. And so the first one was histogram graphs. Each segment, so segment 0, segment 1, segment 2, so no email, men's, women's, and just the effects. Then you have a general group by segment and zip code, so how the segments measured out per zip code. Then you have a plot of visit and spend, so you can see generally how much people spend for visit, and you can generally see less up on the top, max $4.99, more on the bottom, but it was generally in the middle in between 300 to 0. Then you have a in-plot, which gave you the segment per spend, like how much people spent per segment, and you could generally see more people spent in segment 1 than they did 2 or 0, and that will be showing in the results. Next I have the scatter plot and so forth, and just a few more charts for you, and then I set up the dummy variables for the other analysis for the emails, for the segments, for the channels, and the zip code. And then I saved that as tdummy, and I saved it as tdummy drop registry, which is the one I'm going to be using as well. So let me get to the questions. So this is the question page, and as you see, I have my general analysis up first. My analysis is more in depth on my website, so I hope you check it out. But let me get to the questions. So the first question is, here's some model building, and here's some features, just showing you which features are important and which ones aren't, which is going to be used in a little while. And I just decided to use it up first. So question 1, basically, which email campaign worked the best? I found that the men's version actually worked out the best and sold the most. As you can see, it spent $30,000 compared to $23,000, and 267 spenders to 189. The men's just performed better in all metrics. And so basically, then how much incrementals did the customers do? So I did that chart again right there just to show you a little bit of what happened. Well, generally the results I had was there was an average of 779 per person and 712 for women's, but I did a little bit of extra data and found out that there's 267 spenders and 189, but the average per spending customer was more for the women's than it was for the men's, which is pretty interesting, although it's not that significant in the long run. It's just interesting to note. Going back to the features that I was talking about, two biggest features are recency and history segment. So for the first two questions, I basically gave and helped determine best 10,000 and worst 10,000 are based of history segment and recency. So as you can see right there, that that's how I determined it. Question number 5, just measured the segments comparably to and visit and compared them, like the difference in the men's outperformed the women's by a decent amount each time, and you can see some of my information down there. Question 6 is, do they perform better in the metrics? Once again, the men's perform better. Question 7, any odd findings that I found. I could say that Channel 2, for example, which was the Suburban, had less participants in the campaign than the other channels. And this possibly explains difference in correlations of both segments. And Channel 2, for some reason, as you can see, had only this many visits, while this many were targeted. So that's why I did that. Question 8, which audience would I target to? By correlation results, I would recommend a zip code, Channel 0, Channel 2 and Urban for the men's, while I'd recommend the opposite for the women's. Question 9, I already went over the features. Then question 10, I did the model building, decision tree, logistic regression, KANN, Rayleigh sets, train sets, and test sets, and I found out which one had the better. Generally, in total, they weren't as good as you would think. The best one, though, was the KANN train set, which was 57%, but that's pretty low considering the lowest is the 50. Then just some extra questions and answers that I want to explore later, which you can look up on. Basically, I would like to change the spending data and do the same with it as I did with the history segment, so I could be able to test it more and see what makes do a deeper analysis in the future. Well, this is my presentation, and I hope you enjoy it.